Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. I just want to quickly come on here and talk about the upcoming residency interviews, giving you guys a few tips considering that everything is going virtual this year. I just have a few tips and I hope you guys find these helpful. First things first, let's talk about Zoom, right? Because that's most likely going to be the application that most residency interviews will be on. So first things first, I do highly recommend you download Zoom ahead of time, especially if you weren't one of the people who actually used it during the pandemic. Do not wait for the day of the interview or the day before the interview to download it. Make sure you download it ahead of time. Make sure that you test your mic and your camera to make sure that you have a smooth interview experience. Second thing I wanted to talk about is your setup. Make sure that you have a plain background. You don't want the focus to be taken away from you. Remember that anything that's distracting in the background will take the focus away from you, which is not what we want during the interview. The other thing I actually want to talk about is ensuring that you have proper lighting. Make sure that if you have a light source at home, like a window or a lamp, or if you even have a ring light, make sure that it's facing you. That way you appear more well lit, everything appears smooth. And the other thing is, if the light source is actually behind you or some other angle, there can be a lot of shadowing. Basically, you look like you're sitting in a dark room, which is not what we want during an interview. The other thing I wanted to talk about is making sure that your notifications are off. So, I'm not sure about all laptops, but my Mac laptop, every time I get an SMS or an email, it sends me like a ringtone. So whatever I'm doing, if I'm talking to someone on Zoom, it actually beeps and the person talking to me can hear it. So make sure that all your notifications are off so there's no distractions during the interview. Other things to consider, which I think are quite obvious, make sure that you are in a quiet setup. If that is difficult considering you have kids or something else going on and something does happen during the interview, do tell them. This is a new experience for everyone and I do believe that they'll be understanding. So if something does happen where your kid comes rushing through or something, or your fire alarm goes off, just let them know. And I'm sure considering this is new to everyone will be quite understanding. Another thing to consider is when you're talking to the person interviewing you, make sure that you're looking at the camera lens. Do not look at yourself or the person in the screen. Make sure you're looking straight into the camera. And the only way to make sure that's actually happening is by practicing. That's why I do recommend, like I said, downloading Zoom ahead of time and practicing on it. If you don't want to practice with another person, you can always create a new meeting in Zoom and then you can block people from entering that meeting, so it's just you and yourself, and you can do a practice session, and that should be quite helpful. I think this is quite obvious, but wear a proper suit. So wear your pants, wear your shirt, wear your blazer or whatever, and if you don't want to wear shoes, that's fine. You want to wear cozy socks, whatever that makes you comfortable, that's completely fine, but wear a proper suit, be well dressed like you would in any interview. Now that we got all of that out of the way, let's talk about the actual interview day. So the interview day is going to be quite shorter than a normal residency interview that happens at the hospital. So first things first, once you join the Zoom meeting, what you'd expect is you're going to be put in a room with all the other interviewees as well as some of the residents from the program. So that'll be a place where you guys will talk until the interview starts, and then you'll be moved into a separate room and you'll get a chance to get interviewed by the faculty. So another thing you should know is there will be breaks. So I don't want you guys to freak out about sitting in front of the computer for like 4 hours straight. That's not how it's going to happen. You're going to have interview breaks where you can mute yourself, you can turn off your camera, you can go grab yourself something to drink, or go to the bathroom or whatever you need to get done. So the other thing is, From my understanding, either you'll get a video link that will show you around the hospital, or one of the people from the facility are actually going to take you around and show you at the end through Zoom how their hospital looks like. So now let's talk about questions you can get asked during your interview process. So these are just common questions that you hear all the time. I'm sure if you Google what questions can be asked, you'll find a bunch. But like for internal medicine, this is what I was asked. This is what people are still asking to this day. They're pretty basic, but just so you guys have an idea. Number one, everyone asks, tell me about yourself. Tell me why you chose internal medicine. What drew you to internal medicine? What was your first encounter that made you love internal medicine? What else? What's your weakness? Give me a strength. Every time you're asked about a weakness, I think it's pretty smart to be honest, and tell people how you're working to improve on it. But as long as your weakness isn't something disastrous. But you know, like if it's something that you can work on and fix, I think it's very important to be honest about that. People like that. People know when people are lying to them, or when they try to, like they're trying to tell you it's a weakness, but it's actually a strength. It's pretty obvious when people are trying to get around answering that question. Okay, moving on. So what's your weakness? What's your strength? Another thing is there's a lot of scenarios. So people want to know that you're able to be a leader. They want to know you're able to be a team player. So you'll be asked, like, give me a scenario where there was some conflict with someone you were working with and how did it resolve? Give me a scenario where you had to take charge. Give me a scenario where you had problems with a patient, dealing with a patient, what did you do? Like questions like that. I'm sure if you Google them, there'll be a bunch of questions. So make sure you do your search, make sure that you have those questions written down, and make sure that you actually have an idea of how you will be answering those questions. I think it'll make things a lot smoother. Other questions you might be asked is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Are you interested in a fellowship? If you have any research work, they'll ask you about that. If you mention any volunteer experience, that might be asked about. Know your CV pretty well, because anything that you mention, you can get questions about it. Last but not least, make sure you guys have questions prepared for the program. Go through the program's website and look through things and see what questions you have for the program, and make sure that you're prepared to ask them what your concerns are. Remember that even though you're being interviewed, you also want to make sure that the program is the right fit for you. So if you have any concerns, any questions, always make sure you discuss them with the people interviewing you and with the residents. Finally, I just want to make sure that you guys practice. Like I said, practice your questions, practice your answers. Do not memorize your answers, because you don't want to be robotic on the day of the interview. So just kind of have an idea about what you want to be talking about, things you want to mention, for instance, when asked a certain question. So that way you'll feel more comfortable and be more relaxed during the interview day. Remember that the first interview that you guys will have, that might be a little bit nerve-wracking, but slowly, once you get used to things, towards the end of the interview day, things will get smoother, and then moving on, your second interview, third interview, and so on, things will be a lot easier. And you kind of learn things, and you learn what questions you want to ask, or what questions they might ask from the first interview. So don't be too nervous, have a lot of fun, be well prepared, and I'm sure you guys will do great. I hope you all have a great interview season, and I hope you guys have a lot of fun. I know this is new for everyone. I wish you guys the best of luck. If you have any questions, make sure that you mention them down below. If there's something I didn't mention, or if there's any tip that you guys have, leave it down below. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. Hit the like or dislike button depending on how you feel about this video. Alright? I wish you guys the best, and take care. Thank you. Bye.